Hi, it's James Wood here from Totally Wild UK, and we're taking a look down here at a mushroom that we don't find that often, and also one that we wouldn't necessarily, I guess, in this habitat associate with the agaric family. Mushrooms that we typically find out in the fields and the grass. This one's called the Blushing Agaric. The agarics are the standard store-bought mushroom, so the button mushroom that we find, so mushrooms that we're used to, and the standard look of them is white, and they're found out in open grasslands. Usually when we come to the agarics, we say the ones we need to be wary of specifically are the yellow stainer, so that's when we open the grassland, and that's a mushroom that stains yellow. Really good test for that one. Chuck it in the microwave and it'll stain yellow and stink, and then you know you've got the yellow stainer. This one down here, the blushing mushroom, or blushing agaric, grows in the woodlands. So you won't find it in the open grasslands. You'll find it associated with woodland and woodland areas. You can see here that it's got a more scaly cap, and as well as that, it has all of the classic characteristics of the agaric mushrooms. So it's got a skirt on the stem, it's got a flat stem, it's got a cap, it's got gills, and a skirt. The gills, if we were to look at them, are quite pink to start with when they're young, and then they turn darker brown. Like the other agarics, it'll produce a brown spore print as well. So if we wanted to take a spore print of this one, we would chop the cap off, we put it on top of two pieces of paper, gill side down, we'd have a black sheet and a white sheet, and the brown spores would then show up on this white sheet of paper to give us the spore print. Really, really useful for identification purposes. As always, we dig down and we'd go to the base of it. If I pulled that up, this one doesn't have a vulva, so it doesn't grow out of a sac. But if it did, I would then be thinking, ooh, this might be an amanita, which I would be more wary about. However, this one won't have a sac or a vulva. And with those features, that pulls us back to agaric. Now, it's blushing, I'm going to class it as the blushing agaric. It could be one of maybe 3, 4, maybe up to 5 different types of species. And without a microscope, it'd be quite difficult to be able to tell the difference. The key difference really from a visual point of view like this is described as the blushing one as reddening slightly more quickly than the others. The others are edible. So from a forager's perspective, it's not really that big of an issue. We get it confused with those other couple. If we were going down a mycology perspective, yes, we might get a microscope out. We might want to ID it. I don't have one out here in the woods, so I'm going to go and say this one is a blushing wood mushroom or a blushing agaric. That red staining is really, really key. So let's have a quick think about the things that this could get confused with. It could potentially get confused with some of the amanitas. Like I say, this one doesn't have a sac or a vulva. So always really important to dig down under there and pull the base up. Doesn't have any remnants of a vulva on top as well. And then for the other wood mushrooms that potentially this could be confused with, so the other agarics that grow in the woodland, this one stains red. So when we cut it in half, it's going to stain red throughout. The only other one we need to be wary of for confusion is one called the inky agaric, or the inky mushroom, or inky wood mushroom, that looks kind of similar. But if we cut that in half, it's going to stain yellow in the base. So we don't want any yellow staining on any of our agarics. Well, bright yellow staining anyway. At this size, this is actually quite small for this mushroom. They can get up to like 10-15 centimetres across. And when they're more small like this, I guess potentially we'd want to be a little bit wary of dapplings. So they look more like tiny versions of parasols. They typically have a slightly darker centre. So it's definitely worth reading up on those as well when you come across this one. But a really exciting find and a really good one to find when you're out in the woods. So yeah, blushing wood mushroom or blushing agaric.